All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you are somewhere in the world around where I am, truly a good evening to you because I am definitely hanging out at 9:30 p.m. out in India right now. Welcome to another session of the Oh So Lovely HR Tech Couch Club. As we were just sharing backstage, this is our opportunity to basically talk about whatever we want, however we want in the world of HR technology, AI, and the whole nine yards. So I have our usual cast and crew here. We've got Mercedes as well as Martha, my co-host, and I also have Nathalie here today, who is our wonderful, wonderful guest. For the folks who are listening to us on LinkedIn Live right now, if I can ask all of you to do us a quick favor, just drop in that little chat window. Tell us where are you from, what is your beverage of the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, because I'm definitely sipping orange juice here. Let us know, and we will go from there. Also, let us know if you have any questions as we are chit-chatting throughout this entire process, because we are definitely live, so we will address those questions and comments accordingly. And also, chances are you will be keeping us on track at this point. So without further ado, Mercedes and Martha, I'm going to ask you guys to reintroduce yourselves really quickly because I feel like we might have a few new faces in the audience with us today. And then Nathalie, I'm going to hand it over to you and off we go.
Hi. Hi, I'm Mercedes Sullivan. I am a huge Lydia and Martha fan, and now super excited to have this wonderful woman, Nathalie, with us to teach us and drop some knowledge. I am the head of people for McKinley, a workforce planning company. Hello. Back to you, Martha.
And Martha Curioni. I am based in Austin, Texas, recently relocated back from Italy. So if you joined any of our prior sessions, I was definitely in a different time zone. But I do people analytics and really, just raising my hand, any opportunity that comes up to help drive the AI initiative. I'm currently at Procore Technologies, new in my role, but enjoying it and excited to apply or at least share some of the stuff I'm learning today.
Awesome. And Nathalie, over to you. Where are you calling us from? Who are you? Give us a whole shebang.
So I'm in Marin County in the San Francisco Bay Area, but my true heart is in Paris, where I was born and raised. And the majority of my life has been in HR. So leadership development, consulting, and then I kind of went internal, which is a fascinating experience for me. So I did your typical Google, Facebook, leading AI, actually not leading AI team. I did coach the AI team when I was at Facebook, which was how it got started. But the majority of the time, I'm just a geek. And I'm trying to understand what makes us human operate the best we can in the most equitable way in the workplace. So I was thinking about sharing some thoughts with you. I'm going to share my screen.
Teach us your ways, because you're going to help us make sure that we're not so scared. And can you please help us understand why this feels so crazy? Please.
And whiplashy at the same time.
I feel crazy. I feel crazy all the time. So just to kind of give you a perspective on what do you feel crazy? It's because basically a bomb just went off in our workforces and things are completely shifting. So we used to be, who are we, how, knowledge and information was power. Knowledge and information is not power. And nobody gave us the recipe to do anything different. So now we're all what do you mean? I'm going for a PhD right now. So I'm what do you mean my PhD is not going to work? Okay, so this is my world. It's a bit chaotic. So I put nice pictures so that, it would be not as chaotic for you guys as it is for me. So there's a part of me that is theoretical frameworks, equity, big, high in the sky, which is where I am the majority of the time for my PhD. And then there's the current reality, which is working with leaders who don't understand AI or teams who don't understand AI and trying to help them like make sense of what it is, catching up with what's happening in AI at all times and all the new things and the you gimmick. And then there is like the happy side of me, which is much more focusing on like building. That's my cave. That's why I put a cave. And it's very dark because it's just like my office, my computer, my AI team, and me. And that's pure heaven. I do yell at them all the time. We'll come back to that. So when you think about like what I was talking about, there's this side of like the world that is, what are we thinking about when we think about AI, HR, and equity, and particularly gender equity as a first step? I want to kind of expand on that later in my research. But when you're doing a PhD, you're just trying to survive. So that's like the topic that I picked. And then there is the current reality, which is what's happening right now in AI and strategy and business strategy. What's happening right now in terms of how AI is shifting the workforce. Like that's conversations that I have every day with people, like CPOs that are saying like, what is happening? What do I do? Please help. And so what I kind of tend to think about is like a true and tested framework, which is, okay, what is happening today? So what? So it's like the what, so what, now what, framework that we all know. So what is happening? What are the implications? And what do we do about it? And part of what I'm doing this is where it's like, so that you guys don't feel crazy. I'm not doing that because I like think it's good to be presenting model. I'm doing that because my brain is exploding nonstop. And so I needed to create a framework for myself to make sense of like everything that's happening. So this is your mental part that I showed you earlier. And it's like my trying to think about the state of AI in enterprises, like what is happening today in 2025. And so your what is what's happening in terms of the evolution of AI. It is going like, it's just the speed of change is making my head twist at all times.
Can we stop on that point for a second? Because I feel like this is one of those things that you and I might have talked about. And I feel like Mercedes and Martha will echo tremendously as we're talking about it, which is like, I think between the four of us, we need to have a conversation. Like, do we feel whiplash when it comes to AI? Because I feel like sometimes as HR leaders, people look at those who get to spend all the time in the industry and they're like, oh, you must know everything. And every conversation I have now, I'm like, no, like you don't understand. If I go offline for 72 hours, if I hang out like offline for too long, I feel like I came back and I just missed an entire segment of what might have happened in the last 72 hours. Like, let alone, sitting in an HR seat, kind of working 12, 13 hours a day, and then trying to still catch up to the rest of what is going on. Like, do you all feel the same way? Like, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I just did a cross-country move, right? And so the week leading up to it, and week or two-ish after I got here, as you can imagine, like being online and reading about AI was not the top of my priority list. But I do remember, like, once I was like, okay, I need to jump back in, I was like, oh my gosh, I left for like 2 weeks and I don't know what the heck is going on. Like I was behind on everything. And I almost felt like, well, I can't really talk about this stuff anymore because now I felt like I was being fake because I don't know what the latest is, And so then I was like listening to as many podcasts as I could, try to get up to speed again, reading and everything, but it's exhausting. And so, I mean, totally relate.
Exhausting, and I totally agree. I'm to the point that I'm like, Lydia knows, so I'm just gonna follow her, and then I follow a couple of people, and then she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know? But I also feel dumb. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. I have a lot of experience doing strategy delivery, and as a PMO, so I'm writing a little series on that. And literally, as I'm writing it, I'm like, am I dumb now because AI can do all of these things? So I don't even want to write anymore because I don't want to appear stupid. But I'm like, I'm going to appear stupid and it's going to be okay because I also don't know and nobody knows. And I sometimes want to just take a break for like a year and maybe come back and someone fixed it or broke it, but I don't have to keep up. And I love that in the comments, we're seeing that people agree and also start asking questions like, what do you recommend as an initial? Because you don't even know where to start. Like, that's what I'm like, okay, cool. I want to get better. How? So thank you for putting that into a context that it's easier to grasp and that we're not nuts. It's just nutty.
I agree. I feel your pain, and I am literally, I'm not kidding, 8 to 10 hours a day on either, like, I have done a deep dive as an HR person in AI, which means that when I started this journey 3 years ago, I had never coded in my life. I'm not even a math person. So this is all self-taught. Everything I'm doing right now is self-taught with the support of actually my trusted Claude partner who's misbehaving 85% of the time and is giving me solutions that make zero sense. But I follow because I'm like, okay, I don't know how to code. Like, you're gonna do the thing. And then within an hour, like, what do you mean we're doing this workflow together? You're not even like pushing the data from point A to point B. What were you thinking? I don't know if you've gotten that, but there's like a lot of conversation for me with AI, which is like, why on earth did you actually do that? Like, you don't remember what happened? Like, even just what I posted 2 chats ago. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is unacceptable of me. I will do better. And I'm like, yeah, you will do
It's
better.
feedback well, but it doesn't fix it.
Okay,
So
no.
we're gonna talk about that GPT or AI or whatever you are.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on this a little bit, and it reminds me also of one of your latest articles, Lydia, with I forget what you called, but like I remember just the four quadrants.
Oh, the
of,
Johari
like,
window thing.
yeah, what you know, and you can explain it in a second, in much clearer words than me. But this, because I've had these conversations recently, even with people around, I don't know, like I know very little bit about how to work with HR data, how to do people analytics, but there's a lot of things that I need to do as a people partner that I can't, you can't do everything for me, right? Or the people analytics person team can't do everything for me because you guys have a, project list that's X long or what have you. I have this tool. Can I just ask this tool to do the people analytics, analyze this data for me? And so, how do we know like when to like lean in and, I don't know how to do this, but the AI is going to help me, versus when like, no, we probably should bring a professional in on this, and just kind of talking through that, and how do we learn enough to know when to know kind of between those options. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I have some thoughts for you in the next slides that I think will frame a little bit this kind of evolution from, I don't know, I'm going to throw some spaghetti at the wall and like, and hope that something happens, all the way to how do I thoughtfully use those tools? And that's what you're describing, I think, is what we're all experiencing.
Oh, for sure.
What helped me the most was actually like I'm a no coder. I know nothing. I've never developed a like tech product in my life. Like, I am the epitome of your HR person that is only thinking about people and development. And what's been really interesting for me and so healing in some ways is now I hang out most with tech developers. Like, those are my peeps those days. Way more than HR, way more than anything else. And then, of course, I work with leaders and their teams. But like, a lot of what I'm hearing from them is they don't know either. And I show them my stuff, which maybe I'll show you later. And
We're in
they're
great
like,
hands then.
What did you say?
I said, oh, great. We're in great hands. Nobody knows anything. And I'm just
Nobody
looking at
knows
the comments too. And I love it because the audience the people in the comments are completely resonating around, well, it's going to get better, but are we going to catch up to it? I know it's not hallucination. It's just how it works. But it's just scary. It's
Scary.
new.
It's scary. It's scary. So maybe I don't have any like big theory, just take it from me that like my peeps right now are tech developers, and when I show them my stuff, they're like, holy shit, like it's better than ours. And I'm like, what do you mean it's better than ours? What on earth is happening in the world?
Okay, so two things. One is I would imagine in some cases it's better than yours because you are a practitioner. You are somebody that's doing the work and then you're applying the tools as opposed to like all love and respect for our tech people, but they haven't done that work, right? So they have to do the requirements gathering to be able to try to understand like, what is it that I need to build? Whereas you, as you're building it, you're like, no, wait, this isn't right because this is going to end up in this result. And so you can change it as you go, right? So that my theory is that that's what it is. But I just want to put out there, like if we are on the user side and we feel overwhelmed, can you imagine the tech people who are having to keep up with all of these new like tools and libraries and everything else because they get paid to know this stuff? I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money in some cases, but like I probably wouldn't sleep if I had to just continue to stay on top of the trends of like what the latest AI technology is. But
so what's really interesting is they're experiencing exactly the same kind of imposter syndrome that we're experiencing. I mean, they're building cool shit, like let's just be real, but the level of stress is fascinating to me. Like I'm working with someone at Google right now and I build him an AI assistant just because I can, and I do that all the time. And it was transformative. He was like, like, and now he's using it as a trusted partner all the time. So to respond to what you were saying earlier, Mercedes, I think the best way to start is actually to be on the tool. I know that people are like it's you need to understand in your guts when it's going to derail, and it derails a lot more than people want to admit. So there is no going around and actually intellectually understanding like what happens. And that's really what I'm trying to convey. Like you need to be on the tools. So that's one thing. And then the second is, yes, you need to kind of zoom out and start thinking about the fact that knowledge and expertise is not going to be replaced. I know a lot of people were actually saying, yes, like, it's like, oh my God, there's no knowledge anymore. I'm like, if you don't have the expertise to be able to actually check what AI is coming up with, you're not in good shape.
Not going to make it. But you know what? It's nice to know that it sucks for everybody. But to me, the more I hear this, the more discernment is going to be so important, because if all of the information and the tools are available to all of us, that expertise is what the ability to discern what's real and what's not is the key differentiator. And completely agree with Martha, because you have a lot of that expertise, you can guide things much faster than just doing the enabling tech.
That's exactly it.
But it makes me feel warm and fuzzy that it sucks for everybody. So thank you for validating that.
I feel so much better.
To one of the questions about, recommendations for like where to learn, what to learn, and so forth, to Nathalie's point, like use the tools to get your like personalized learning journey, because you need to think about like what your baseline is, like what you know now, what you don't know, what you want to know, what you're planning to potentially use AI for, right? Like you can give context about like your role and the kind of things that you do, and ask for, where could AI be an opportunity and how do I learn that type of stuff? Because we can tell you like, oh, follow Lydia or do this and the other. But at the end of the day, like the ability to get, that's the power of some of this Gen AI, to get that like personalized development plan is just, something that we've never had before. And so take advantage of that.
And I'm just going to chime in here because from a learning perspective, so Natalie, you and I had this conversation maybe 6 months ago, if not a little further back. And this was when you were telling me, like, you need to learn how to talk to a robot. I was like, what are you talking about? How to talk to a robot? Like, I'm prompting, like, it's fine, right? And then the moment I kind of got into the agent building side of it, like, OMG, this is, I think, really where you need to start practicing how to talk to a robot, because there are moments where you kind of like, you're like, I love you. You're seeing a lot of people pleasing things that I know may or may not be right, but you're seeing a lot of people pleasing things. So let's keep rolling with it. And there are moments you're like, OMG, I'm working with a 5-year-old child that I kind of want to strangle. Thank God it doesn't have feelings, because I'm going to give a lot of feedback that I don't know how to cushion. So I think in that sense, in terms of where do we learn more about AI, yes, you can watch all the YouTube videos, learn all the theories and everything else, but genuinely, and I think Natalie, you're going to talk about this in a little bit in terms of how we learn, you need to figure out what your fine-tuned style is between you and the machine. And quite literally, having figured that part out myself in the last 6 months, I will say nobody else could actually teach you that. Everyone can guide you in terms of how you think about it, how you need to react to it, but you kind of need to fine-tune the actual momentum and the actual thinking patterns behind how you and AI actually work together as one.
That's exactly it. It's funny that you would say that, because I have a lot of friends who've been like for the past 2 years teach us AI. And now I'm like, okay, just put a court together and I'll just like teach you everything I have. So we might actually get started on something. So I'm not going to bore you with this. This is the topic of our conversation, which is learning, growing. All right. So now I'm going to take you to my nerdy learning side, not just my nerdy AI side, because I have a lot of nerdy things in my brain.
Welcome to the Couch Club.
Oh my God. And sometimes I try to just bring them all together and it comes out garbled. So
you're in the right place.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
We're your people. Let's be confused together. Let's go.
Yeah, let's be confused together. So the way we tend to think about adult development, it's like you've made it through childhood, you're survived. Oh my God, like now you're in the work environment and like it's smooth sailing from there. Like it's going to be gorgeous and so beautiful. That's what it looks like. That's actually the reality of what psychologists and behavioral psychologists are saying it looks like. You're going to go through many twists and turns. It is going to be painful. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be out of breath a lot. And yes, once you are in some ways in different portions of the top, because you never arrive at the top, at least we don't want to arrive at the top because there is a pretty terminal reality to arriving at the top. So the first thing that we want to do is just experiencing the journey. And most of the time we actually just we have those really important goals in mind. Like, this is who I'm going to be. Like, I'm going to learn this. So right now we're in I'm going to learn AI. Like, I'm going to just, apply AI or whatever it may be for us. But the reality is most of the time we take a wrong turn and we go up a hill we should have never had any business going up. And that's making it harder, but that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And part of what happens, is the way you think about growing as a human. And so I'm now summarizing, a lot of what the research is on adult development is we go through stages, and each stage is one where we could stay forever. Most of the time we kind of tend to grow because we encounter pain or problem, or we're hitting a wall in some way, shape, or form. So the very first phase, which is, the very beginning here, is just to say, we want something now. So it's going to be our very now. I want to learn AI now. I want to be an expert now. And then we'll be just trying stuff out. It's like your spaghetti at the wall phase, which happens both for humans, for leaders, and for companies. It's the same process. And we're seeing a lot of that now. And so at one point, it's super crazy costly, or it didn't work out, or you've built this beautiful thing in HR and nobody uses it, or so you get pain and you get slapped and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Okay, let me get to the next page, which is what are the roles? What are the constraints? Maybe I should have been thinking about the fact that, sending creepy digital twins to like all of our employees and tell them that this thing is going to spy on them without like engaging them in the process, maybe not that good of an idea. So let's elevate a little bit and think about like, okay, how do I think about my stakeholders, for example? And so on and so forth. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that, but that kind of gives you a taste of what's happening for us as adults and how we grow and learn no matter what happens.
So you're telling
So the
me
key
this annoying,
Go ahead.
this annoying no pain, no gain people were right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the key takeaway is that it's gotta suck before you learn, essentially, is where we're going with this whole conversation.
It's like more pain. I was going to therapy for that. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happening for me a little bit, because the reality is you have like, okay, there's the slap on the wrist. And then there is, in my world right now, I'm like, oh, I was like thinking about performance management and gender equity and AI, like what could go wrong with this beautiful place? And actually the first articles that I saw were like legit. I could find the slides, but it's this beautiful, like basically all the performance management like tools that we use bad. I promise you that's a legit article that I actually saw. And it said plus AI. And I think I showed it to you, Lydia. I was just like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then the result of like, if you add AI to it, it's always beautiful. Everything was unbiased. Like the world was just like shiny and unicorns and rainbows. And like, that's when I realized that the majority of the world is actually looking at AI as a savior. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me something that's basically the entire IO psychology like field has been saying is flawed. You're adding AI to it that is biased. We still have things today. And now you want me to actually believe that the thing is unbiased at the end? Like,
It's pixie
I don't
dust.
know. What did you say?
It's pixie dust. That's what AI is supposed to be for
I'm like,
marketing.
what is happening? And everybody, like, that was 2 years ago. And I was like, what is, I must be crazy. So that's a lot, by the way, that people need to think about is most of the time, there is such a wide gap between what vendors are saying or what like companies are putting out and what is really happening that most of the time we're gaslit. We're gaslighting ourselves. And so that's something that is important.
It's funny that you say that. So last week, when I was running a AI sort of training development session with a company out there, well, there was one question that was asked to me. They were like, "Oh, is AI biased?" And I'm like, "Listen, most AI LLM models you use today will make you sound like an American middle-aged Caucasian male." The entire room went dead quiet. They looked at me. They're like, "How dare you?" It was kind of like, "How dare you say that? How could you say that?" Was a very bold statement. I was like, I can cite 5 research papers that will tell you exactly that, which is verified that most of our LMs, because of their training data, are inherently biased at this point. So it's kind of like, is it pixie dust? I'm hoping most of us have graduated away from thinking that it is pixie dust. It is basically a more flawed and robust brain, essentially, that is centralizing all the information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think for those that are in the audience that are kind of overseeing this journey of, AI adoption within their company, whether it's the HR team only or the wider organization, I think what we're also seeing in the data is, yes, there's a big chunk of people that think it's pixie dust, and that is something that we need to address as we are leading this kind of AI transformation for our companies. And then you have that like small pocket of people that like, this is good, we have to push it, we can't really trust it, that stuff. Then we have a small population that, because they've heard about this bias, what have you, they want nothing to do with AI, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, I'm not going to use it. I don't want to see it. You can't make me. I'm going to kick and scream or leave before you make me do it. And so from your research or from conversations you've had, how do companies deal with these like different spectrums of AI acceptance, I'm going to say?
Yeah, you're talking about AI adoption, so I'll come back to that. But basically, this is kind of a little bit of what you're talking about. I think I want nothing to do with AI is probably also coming from a sense of reality, because organizations, and so we went through COVID, and I don't know for you, but I was in tech. So in tech, it was, oh my God, like employees are loving you. You're the best thing since sliced spring. Like we have so much empathy for what you're going through. Like, and then we were so cocooned. And then in the space of 6 months, we went from that to, oh no, actually, like we don't need you no more. Oh, and by the way, we don't need you no more by tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people, because AI is the new shiny object. So I think right now, if I was in an organization that was basically saying, hey, like you need to adopt those AI tools that we came up with without ever asking you about, and that someone in a cave somewhere came up with, yeah, I get it. I wouldn't be trusting them either. So I don't know that we can change that by not changing this, like the way leaders think about AI and the way companies think about AI, and then the employees will follow. But it's like the trust has been broken from an employment contract perspective. So of course they're not gonna like believe it.
Yeah, I love that. I also think it's important to take the wider context in mind. Like there's so many things happening outside of work that impact work. And then the other piece is that you now hear like this time is different. It's not just a tool. And so AI first, I'm like, are we in service of the technology or the human? Because I recently saw an example of what an AI future could look like. And I'm like, that feels horrible. I want to give people a hug. And so what I see is that the win is that we're productive. That means we don't need you anymore. Instead of, in practice, the win is that you can do a better job.
Mhm.
The cognitive dissonance between what they're telling us and the realities are not right.
Yes.
Inside of work and outside of work. So
Yes.
we're all like, what? I don't trust anybody. It comes down to trust and values. It's not a technology revolution, it's a values, because if I use this, what happens? Also, if the thing can do my job, who am I and what's my value? All of the things, it's just crazy. It's nuts in every direction. And that's why we're here, learning from you, because you're going to give us some answers, right, Nathalie? What's next? I want a savior too.
Because I have all the answers in the world. But like part of what I'm starting to think about, and the reasons for which I put this together, is because I was trying to sense make what I was seeing in the real world. Like how were people operating with this new thing called AI, which is not that new, by the way, but that's a different story. So I was thinking about, okay, how do I categorize what I'm seeing and how people are operating? And so that at least I can kind of have some sense of control. Part of what is going on right now is the world is so incredibly chaotic that we as human, we need a sense of control. And so if you are, to go back to what you were saying, Martha, if you are in an organization that is actually going to give some sense of control to their employees, and maybe actually like upskill them more than just with an hour chat or a 2-hour or a 3-hour, you need to learn the basic of AI, but actually allow them to have practice labs where they can experiment and have play and like have fun. This thing is fun. Like I'm giving you all the negative, but like I am hooked. I'm obsessed. I'm neurodiverse and I will never go back. I love this so much. You just gotta do it in a human-centric way. So a lot of what I'm seeing right now is here. Like it starts here, which is there is a leader, and yeah, I have an example. There is a leader, older generation, went to a wedding, saw ChatGPT and what it could do, came back on Monday and told the CPO, who then contacted me saying, we need to do AI. You'd be very surprised how many times that happens. I'm not joking.
I remember when ChatGPT blew up, where I was at the time, I remember it was like, that was what you were hearing from everywhere, like top down, and everybody was like scrambling of like, okay, where can we do AI, as opposed to the very, the much more appropriate way of approaching that.
We try to get shirts made. I want AI because we thought it was so ridiculous at some point. But carry on. This is getting all sorts of like, we all agree vibes.
But what's really interesting is almost like we all we lost our marbles. Like, genuinely, I saw leaders who were like, you have to prove to me that like what you're building, when I was an internal, like, you have to prove your shit. It went from like, show me the plan, prove to me it's going to work before it does, to do AI. What? And it's like all over the place. It's fascinating. And so like, that's why I need people like Lydia in my life, because we look at each other and I'm like, Lydia, I'm crazy. They all get it. Like, clearly I'm not getting it. Like, there's a problem with me, my brain. I'm sure it's Alzheimer's, something, like, I can't. And Lydia will be like, yeah, no, no, you're right.
It's not you. It's the rest of the world. Yes.
It's the rest of the world.
I swear, by the time we hit our first year anniversary episode, I might just do a merch drop for the HR Tech Couch Club with like HR Tech Couch Club on the back and like, let's do AI on the front or something like that.
Let's do AI. And normally we as HR people will tend to be like the adults in the room, I'm sorry to say. But right now, everybody's telling us that like, we need to automate and we don't have value, and our value will be proven if we can automate everything. So it's almost like we're like secondary effect. We're losing our senses because a lot of people around us are saying this shit is going to work. And if I didn't have tech developers in front of me every single day, whom I like absolutely adore, by the way, they're like the best people in the world right now for me. I'd be thinking that, yeah, maybe the leader knows something. Like yesterday, I was looking at sorry, this is me venting, and then I promise I'll go back. But like, this is my everyday life. Yesterday, I get into this really serious article, and of course, LinkedIn posts a bunch of things, which is perfect for my PhD, because I'm like, click, 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 like, I'm like, all of that is data for my PhD. And so I see this person who's like basically saying, one of the big four, saying like, let us tell you about how AI is going to impact your life. So I'm reading, of course I am. And it's like, let us give you the stories of those three people, like their everyday life. And I read it and I'm like, oh, you're building fantasy now. Like, I didn't know that that was a genre in like the consulting world, because it was like, hey, this person is getting up in the morning and they're working with their trusted AI tool. Like, in what world do you think it's happening? Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, that's me every day.
But I think you hit the nail on the head, though.
By the way, that's the post that I reacted to, how lonely the world will be if that's the case. So go ahead, Lydia.
No, I was going to say, like, you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of going back to what we were talking about, which is everyone's suffering from imposter syndrome right now. And then on top of that, there's a sense of like, if I don't know what's going on, someone else must know what's going on. And you have this weird circle of someone else must know, someone else must know, encapsulating the fact that technically nobody knows right now, and we're all just kind of trying to figure it out. And one of the things I think was really, really interesting. So yours truly got really nerdy this week. I read through the entire 28 pages of America's AI action plan because I literally could not stand all the drama and like sort of TMZ-esque media coverage that thing was getting. And in there, it was basically a whole section on like, we don't know what we don't know. So I'm like, okay, we literally have a government document right now that says we don't know what we don't know. So what hopefully that will at least provide some level of comfort in that we're all kind of trying to figure it out at the same time. But simultaneously, it's almost like a sense of comfort for everyone, knowing very well that they're not alone in the I don't know what the heck is going on boat.
Very
Yeah,
much.
plus one to that, I 100% agree. So thank you for highlighting that. So I feel better that, I don't know. And then when I'm doing the actual doing, I'm like, this doesn't match the fantasy. Again, going back to the article that you referenced, I'm like, wait, what? But the second piece is that as we do more, we're going to learn new things. For me, and we talked about this, I'm now thinking that I'm over reliant on the tool because I start questioning my own intelligence, and should I listen to the thing, especially as an English as a second language? I'm like, I don't even know if what I'm writing is correct. So all of the things at once are interesting because we need to paint a picture of the future, but based on reality. We don't know yet the impact on learning. We don't know yet the impact on the human and how then we need to organize. All I know that whatever they are saying is not what's happening in my day-to-day work. And that's not how humans human.
I agree. And actually, you know what's happening in the world of research. So now I'm putting the other nerdy side of me on, which is I'm realizing, because I was thinking, I always think someone somewhere is going to have the answer. And then I'm looking at all of those articles and I'm like, oh, they're basically, so they're doing, by the way, which I'm going to do for my PhD, so I shouldn't say bad things about it, but it's called systematic literature review, which is basically saying, I don't know what's happening. I'm going to go back to what everyone else said, and this is going to be my research. That's what's happening. Like there's way more people that are talking about what is going to happen than actually are experimenting. And in the world of human resources in particular.
I think we have a theme emerging here. So I'm just going to kind of stream the conversation together for us. It's almost one of those things that, historically speaking, pre-AI era, as I'm going to call it, you learned by absorbing theory, because what you learned in the books, what you learned on the online courses, you can take that, copy it, apply it, and boom, checkbox, you're done. Now, because of how AI is rapidly expediting, changing, and evolving things, it's kind of getting to a point where you need to figure out your own personal learning path. And I hate that word because I'm very, very scarred for all of the LMS implementations I've ever done in my life. But it's almost like you got to figure out how you interact with your environment, your ecosystem, and then how you want to experience AI to then figure out what can you learn of AI, because it's not necessarily a single answer to a single question anymore. It's a multitude of answers that is incredibly person dependent to one single question.
I'm also thinking that's, as you're saying that, I think there's a part of me that is also like going back to there is no one to teach us. And so, yes, we do need to actually learn by ourselves. The one tip that I would like for everyone to remember is, and that's where like I'm really getting passionate about AI human collaboration. Like that's my thing. If you ask people who are researching AI enough, they're all telling you right now that human in the loop. So that's a thing. Like human in the loop for us means basically you're still going to have to lead AI. You're still going to have lead AI is anthropomorphizing, French, English, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So it's not really lead AI, but like you need to have the boss hat on of you're going to be accountable for the outputs. And part of what I've noticed is going on is, and I'm saying that for all the people that are neurodiverse or the people that might not have English as a first language, and I'm starting to realize for everyone else as well, when you press an AI button, part of what happens is you're going to get like a 2-page like thought process. If you're really engaging in a conversation, like that means I write a book every day with AI, probably 10 times a day. Like in terms of length, my brain cannot comprehend that. So at the beginning I was like, oh, like of course that's amazing. Like I'm getting a ton of information. Like something very important must be happening in here. And now, I mean, I taught Lydia how to do that. Like now I'm like, yo, stop it. Like you did it again. What are you doing? I said my human brains needs a paragraph or less. So don't give me any more. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I will give you a paragraph or more. You know, but that's actually the reason for which I'm saying that much more deeply is because we need to be very aware of our needs and the places where our brains get flooded from a cognitive load perspective. And AI is actually designed like it will produce so much that our brain is not going to be able to step back and analyze and think. So part of what, like, one of the first thing you need to do is, what mode am I in? Am I in, like, I'm developing my workflows right now. And I'm saying things as simple as, no, don't give me 20 steps of how I'm going to go and like build this embedding, like this vector, like, or how I'm going to like connect all those knots. Just don't do that. Like that is wasted token. So I'll tell it. I'll be like, you're wasting tokens. My brains cannot comprehend it. You need to actually do this and present the information to me for my human reading brain. I kid you not. That's my new thing. And I want it in like, I want it like really short. Part of what it has taught me, and that's the part where it's actually really cool as a human, because it's taught me things that I'm having trouble doing as a human being. I'm a people pleaser. I think others are always right. And so, of course, I'm going to take like something that seems so polished as like the truth. And I am now learning to stand up for my needs with AI, which is hilarious. I use humor a lot. So oftentimes I'll be like, oh, you went off track there, friend. And we're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, you're right. So I'll just engage with it in a very human way, but very assertive.
So
Martha.
It's so interesting. Go ahead, Martha.
No, I was going to say two things. Like one is, I think what you're learning about AI is something that we should practice even with other people. Like just because somebody sounds very polished and like they know what they're talking about, it does not mean that they do. Second thing,
I am sound clipping that. That is going to be the summary sound clip for this entire sector.
Yes.
So the second thing is I would not be my true people analytics governance person if I didn't say this. Is my concern. So I love what you're saying, because yes, we cannot absorb like a book worth of information. It defeats the whole purpose. We lose our efficiency, all of that stuff, right? But at the same time, we need transparency. We need transparency in like how the AI is making a recommendation or whatever it may be, especially in the world of HR. And so how do we find that balance between your thought process so that I can agree with it or disagree with it or argue with you until we come to the right thought process, without being just inundated with way too much text that I'm not going to make sense of, I'm not going to absorb it, right? Like, how do we find that balance? And I don't know.
It's interesting because I like the way we human and the way AI actually does their best work. And that's where AI human collaboration actually really matters. And that's the topic we all need to focus on. Human-centered human AI collaboration, just to be clear. Don't let me forget to tell you what are the companies that are like just getting slaps in the face and why and how they're using AI, and those that are not and how they're using AI. I'm going to forget, I'm sure. But based on like the reality is, I lost it. Oh my God, I had a senior moment. Look at me.
So
Okay, but tell us about the
transparency.
companies that are getting slapped for
Yeah.
using AI or not using AI.
Actually, no, I want to, okay. But like, I want to go back to the other point because like you made me think about that. So right now I like just did a research on like what are the companies that are really implementing AI in a way that is helping and those that are not. And I didn't know. I was just like looking at what's happening in the world, and I realized really quickly, I put an article out because it was tracking for me. Those that are doing, the sweeping decisions of we are letting go of 700 people because we're doing AI. I love Salesforce, but like even Salesforce that is basically saying, hey, like we are doing agent Salesforce, but we're going to hire sales agents, human sales agents to actually sales. Like there's a lot of that going on. Or Klarna saying like, we don't want, like they're getting slaps in the face. Like, by the way, they're going to grow up through, like they know what not to do. What I have found that was really interesting is the quieter organizations that are really focused on human centered, like they're really trying to think about like what do our employees need? What a novel concept. Those are the ones that are like really working effectively, and where the development is actually working well, and they have a lot to show for it. So that's something that I think is kind of noteworthy. Like we can start seeing the patterns even if we're like just a few years into this journey, and it's very clear. So
Yeah.
for
To your point about the adult learning cycle, if it doesn't suck, you don't learn. I think we're going to see a lot of companies going through the if it doesn't suck enough, you're not learning from your mistakes pattern very shortly.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that for me is I've been thinking a lot because you're right. There's so much of it that I get overwhelmed, and now I feel like I need to do more. So now I'm just tired. Second, I start questioning myself, and I realize I'm trying to control and overgovern. So the only thing that's going to work if I trust it, and I cannot trust it yet. But the second piece that I'm saying is that I'm like, if I cannot trust it, if it's starting to do human things that I don't want the thing to do, why are we even doing this? So we need to go back again to reality. What's the work? What of it can enable the work? It should. Otherwise, we're really doing things just for productivity at the expense of everything, and it's just not working. Can we get back to like what's real? Because I think, and that's why I'm loving here, because now we have enough information. Now we're through the valley of sucky, and now I'm like, okay, this is where it works. This is where it's not aligned to what means to be human, and now we're using it as therapists and to build connection, and that terrifies me more than anything else.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things related to Mercedes, the point that you just made. And Natalie, you and I have talked about this multiple times before, which is AI from a learning lens perspective. And it kind of turns a mirror on you. Like you, in order to work with AI effectively, at least in my journey that I found, there's some uncomfortable behavior patterns that I had to face about me in terms of how I work, how I schedule work, how I unfortunately procrastinate probably more than I should in certain instances. But with that kind of lens, it's like the stuff that I was able to kind of shove under a rug before, now with a level of AI interaction, so I'm like, oh crap, I have to deal with that. Okay, fine. Let me fix the bit about me that like literally no technology can help first before we then figure out what am I going to do with the technology afterwards.
What you're saying reminds me of now my senior moment has passed, Martha. So you had 2 points that I wanted to come back to. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. The first one is around how do you trust the outputs? There are ways to be thoughtful about how you put things together. Like, do I get in front of Claude or GPT and ask a question and trust it? Hell no. Is it going to give me a sense of direction? Yeah, probably. It's going to help me think. So on one side, we as humans, we need to think. And that's how we operate. On the other side, you have like those machines or tools or whatever you want to call it, they do best when they have extremely structured requests and enough context that they can work with. So we're at odds And that's a little bit of what we're all experiencing right now. We're trying to fit in the world of like how AI works best, when it needs to actually be a little bit more focused on us, like thinking about how do I prompt and how do I work with not just one agent, but several agents to be able to trust the answer a little bit more. I give some tips like stop it middle, like it's thinking and it's starting to write, just stop it. If you don't understand what it's saying, just stop it. Ask the question again, say why it didn't happen. And then there is, I think, a little bit of, and there are many more there, but then there is, I wanted to share something that, like, just so that we don't leave with, just kind of like sadness.
Yeah, because time check, we have a little like 4 minutes left, and like, what do we do?
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? We have another one of those conversations. That's what we do. But
we cry together.
no, what you do is you actually start to do some real, like, how do you normally operate with humans and what you need to learn. So you were talking about it, Martha, which is like, yeah, we need to work with our AI tools in a way that is like, it is teaching us about leadership is the thing, the pin I'm going to put. It's teaching us how we tend to respond to others, including AI, and how we need to kind of grow ourselves in our own leadership skills, in our capacity to communicate, to be clear, to say no, to get our needs met, and to drive the process. So this is what I'm like working on right now. That's my cave. You're probably not going to see very much of it. I just want to show you, like, I am trusting this process because I put it together, because I have several moments of like engaging with AI, and because I am testing and validated the shit out of it. So this is, I'm talking about like hundreds of articles where I'm looking at the input, I'm looking at the output, and I'm tweaking. It's very, very thorough and boring work. But that's what's happening. You can start trust it if you put in the work to actually put it in a place where you can start to know that you're going to have some validity and some reliability.
That's with training it, with creating the right context. Now, again, this is my like governance hat here. Do it with like corporate tools that are secure. Do not go in like personal accounts and do it. But provide that context and so forth, because it's going to allow your results or your output to be so much more closely aligned with what you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. That was probably like one of the fastest hours I think we passed on the Couch Club. I don't know, Mercedes, Martha, if you guys feel the same way. I'm like time checking. I was like, I should probably send these guys off to their next meetings, but like I also really want to continue the whole conversation. So to be picked up for part 2 once GPT-5.0 comes out, as someone has shared in the comments. But Nathalie, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on here, sharing the human side of AI development, as well as kind of sharing your perspective with us and just helping us get more comfortable with the fact that we don't know what we don't know, and the world probably doesn't know what it doesn't know. So we're kind of all in this together. With that said, thanks folks for joining us on this LinkedIn Live. Appreciate your time as usual, and stay tuned for our August session, which should also be exciting because we're talking about the development side and the future forecasting side of AI. So with that said, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.